Welcome back, guys. So in the last video, we set up the button to allow users to follow other users or to be added to a user's request list. Here we have an example where under our follower request in Firebase, this is the user that we requested to follow, and we just basically added our information, our user ID, as well as our information as far as our email, profile photo, username, whatever we would need to actually display in a list here. So the second part of this is that sometimes users aren't actually private users, they're public users, and if you request to follow them, you can directly follow them without having to worry about them approving you. Now, there's several ways to deal with this. What we're going to actually do is we want to set something in our profile to say whether we're private or not. So our user that we're trying to follow, we want to know if they're private. Now, you can do this in several different ways. You can have a 0-1 thing, 0 for being not private, 1 for being private. But it's up to you. I'm going to just say just a string called true that our user is actually private. And what we want to do in Xcode is we want to first see if our user is actually private before we get added to this request list. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump back into Xcode. All right, so here's our app. When we try to request a follower, we get added to their list if we're not already there. And then we have this little message printed out at the bottom. All right, so what we want to do here instead is once we request to follow this user, we want to check to see if the user is actually private. So the way we're going to do that is we need to get access to this user's profile in Firebase. So I'm going to say user data. So this is the user that we're requesting their data. A reference to their database is going to be dbref, and that's what we're passing in here as our Firebase database reference. And then it's going to be a child path of user, because this is our list of users within Firebase. And under that, we have another child path, and that's actually the user that we're trying to follow. So I'm just going to user we want to follow. Now, once we go here, what we want to do is we want to check to see if the user is private. And we are going to do that by grabbing a snapshot of this user's profile. So our user data ref dot observe a single event. We just want right now, what is the user? We don't want to continuously look. The value of their database. So I'm just going to say we're just going to grab a snapshot, and then we're going to do some stuff here. All right. And what is it yelling at me about? All right. So if the user is private, we're going to do a couple things. If the user's not, so we're actually going to do all of this within this closure. We're going to determine that. Control V. Maybe do some refactoring later. So here, if the user, let's get the information. User data is equal to snapshot, the value. Are we grabbing a snapshot? User, let's say user snapshot, just so it's clear. We don't have snapshots all over the place. So this user's information okay, we're gonna grab that as an index dictionary. Okay, so now we have these values. So if the user data private, so the value for private is equal to true, Then we're going to do all of this stuff like we were doing before. Okay, so if our user's value of private, so what we get back from private, we probably need to actually as string, right? So if private is equal to true, then we want to do this. Otherwise, what we want to do is we want to, let's see. Let me say end private. We want to do something else. So if the user isn't private, then we're going to want to do something else. Let's see if this actually works. And let's just do print user is private here. And let's say print user is not private here. So we know that this user should be private. So if this all worked as expected, let's see if there's any errors that we need to grab or we need to take care of. All right, so if we select this user, we see that the user is indeed private. So this value is true. And we know that from the database. If we go back and look at it, the value is true. And when we select the user, we see that the user is indeed private. So then we'll go through all these steps. So let's actually, the user is not private. Let's handle the case when the user is not private. When the user is not private, what we're going to want to do is we're just going to want to update this. So this part is actually going to be very similar. So we're just going to copy this. And then we're just going to paste this here. We're going to say follower. So we, let's say followed user. Okay, so we follow, at this point, we've actually successfully followed user. All right, and we see that we're going to change the status to true. I believe that's what we have. We have either pending or true in our following. Let's see, following. Yep, so we have pending or true. Okay. And then this is yelling at me because of current user. Let's just go ahead and pull current user outside if we can. So here we have the current user. And that should probably be outside of everything. Let's go ahead and just do that. Let's grab this and put that there. And let's get rid of this and put this here. All right, so that gets rid of everything else. So if the user isn't private, then we're just going to go ahead and follow that user. So let's go ahead and see if that works. So I'm just going to change our user in our Firebase database. And let's see, we're going to say false. Actually, get rid of this. Let's see. I think it actually has, you could do like a Boolean or whatever, true, false, but I'm just going to do the string and let you guys determine your design on this database private on your own. All right, so now that our user is technically not private, what we want to do is be able to successfully add this user self. And we want to pull this out as well because now we're possibly going to be using it in different places. So let's pull this out and let's just delete some of this space and just create some more space up here. All right, so we have our user request to follow list reference, and then either here we're going to add the user as true or pending. All right, so let's see if that worked. All right, so we're going to just go ahead and select this. So as you see, it's selected, or it printed out successfully followed user. Let's go to Firebase, because what it should have done is just added another value or change that value. Actually, see. Okay, so as you see here for this user, we are now true when we were at first pending. So this user has been updated to true. All right, so that does it for this video. I hope it was helpful. Comment below. And in our next video, we're going to continue this by actually displaying this. So once we actually start getting users to request to follow us, we want to be able to accept or reject those users. So in our next video, we'll start by populating the table and doing all that really great stuff. So I hope to see you guys next time. Until then, goodbye.